Hi, I'm Samantha, and we're really family oriented here at my house. I have three children who are 18 and older, and today still we get together and have family movie night. Now, every once in a while, you will come across a movie that just really sticks with you. This happened to me back in 2008. I watched a Liam Neeson movie called Taken. Now, this movie was about a former CIA agent whose daughter went on vacation and was taken and forced into human trafficking. The movie showed where the women were drugged and forced into prostitution and eventually sold off to the highest bidder. But to quote the movie, Liam Neeson had a particular set of skills where he ran in and he saved his daughter and brought her home. Now, it was a really good movie. It was action-packed. I mean, sometimes you're on the edge of your seat. But in real life, that's not how a lot of these, this is not how a lot of these situations turn out. You might be surprised to find out that human trafficking is alive today, all over the world. And through my research, I was shocked to find out how many people are actually victims of human trafficking. Through my research, I found out 27 million people today, all over the world, are victims of human trafficking. This involves labor trafficking and sex trafficking, and nobody is immune. It's men, women, and children. Through my research, I found a book that I read parts of, that was written by Farley and Barkin. It was called Surviving Sexual Violence, and it talked about towns in Guatemala where 80% of the females there were victims. They were slaves. And there were so many different methods used to manipulate and control these women. They isolated them, terrorized them, they beat them, they forced them into prostitution, they forced them into pregnancy, and there was a lot of mind games that would go on with them where they would treat them really good and then they would switch it up and unexpectedly degrade them and abuse them. And basically what the book talked about was that they removed the qualities that define the women as individuals. And that is a pretty good definition of what human trafficking is. It's taking a person and treating them like a product, moving them like you would move a product on a shelf in a store. So you might wonder, what does this have to do with you? Well, I've wondered that too. What could I possibly do about this huge human rights problem? This is a problem everywhere in the but it's also in the United States. And when I found out that 325,000 children in the United States are living in slavery today, either as labor slaves or prostitution, I was really surprised. And it made me say, what can I do? What can I do? Because it's happening right here on American soil where I live. And it got worse. I found out that as shocking as the 100,000 that are being who are victimized today by these people, there's the U.S. Department of Justice reported that another 300,000 children are at risk in the United States. Now, I grew up in Michigan. I still live in Michigan. I was born and raised in the capital, Lansing, of Michigan. And just this year and last year, they've broken up sex trafficking in Lansing. I was shocked to find this. If you ever question, well, what constitutes sex trafficking, let me tell you a story. Just 2 towns over from my hometown, Lansing, is a little town called Mason. Now, one night in February of 2015, right in the middle of winter here in Michigan, a young teenager left her home. And her mom heard her, and her mom yelled after her to come back. And the girl started running, and the mom chased her down, but it was winter, and the mom slipped and fell in the snow. And when she looked up at her daughter, she saw her getting into a car, an unknown car with an unknown man. For 2 days, her daughter was gone. She probably thought her daughter was gone forever. But it turns out that her daughter had been on social media sites like Whisper and Kik, and she had been talking to this older boy. Her 14-year-old daughter was being held near the MSU campus, the Michigan State University campus, for 2 days. He held her there. He took pictures of her, and then he solicited those pictures out to customers so they could come there to have sex with her so he could make money. Now that girl did end up getting returned to her home. But what trauma did she go through? That happened right here near me. And it's happening in your cities too. If we want to make a change in the world and to help these people, everybody has to stand up. We have to work together. I know the police and the task force in my state alone, there was 220 different cases that they addressed in 2015 alone. The project that I want to talk about that I'm supporting today, because it is in my own state, by the way, Michigan is the #2 biggest state for sex trafficking in all the United States. That was a shock. Mine is called the Hope Project. The Hope Project began in 2006. It was an outreach program because the people came together and they said, where do these young girls go after they're rescued from these sex traffic houses? So they opened up 3 different houses across Michigan, and this is where they bring the girls. They feed them, they clothe them, they house them, and they help them to recover and heal. Now, you might want to know, okay, all this is going on, what could I really do to help? Should I send them money? You could send them money. But if you don't have money, there's so many other things you could do to help. The basic, what we need is to spread awareness of this, because 27 million people are slaves all over the world. It's happening everywhere, in every city. You could become an ambassador. You could become an advocate, a volunteer, or you could simply pray for these people if you're a praying kind of person. But what's most important is that you just get involved. Get involved. You can make a difference. You might not be able to change the world, but you could change one person's life. The Hope Project, bringing light to those in darkness.